The way to get rid of tension is to do just the opposite of all the things that cause it.
Hello everyone, Hugo from Ichiban Painting, and today I'll be talking a little bit about how can you take or set up to take nice pictures of your miniature. So here you see this would be my normal setup that I would do to take pictures of my miniature. So basically what you can see here is that you have two spectrum HD lights, okay? Two full spectrum HD lights, so they simulate normal daylight, right? So you have two. This one normally would be always set up like this to shoot on top of the model and a little bit by the angle. And if I'm taking pictures, normally this little one here would actually be here like this, and the camera would be under it, so it would actually simulate the flash on the camera, but not the flash, but it would actually, like they call it a macro ring. I don't know if you ever saw it, but normally it's a ring that's in front of the objective of the camera and shoot directly the light in front of the objective. So this is normally what I would set up for. And as you can see now, this is a gradient paper, what they call. So it means it's a paper that changes color. So it goes from really white at the bottom of the page that you can't see on the frame, but if I move it a little bit, you're going to be able to see. So it goes from really white to all the way to black. So it really cool because it allows you the ability to change the colors or the gradient as you want. So for this particular picture that I'm doing test shot on it and I'm gonna put at the end of the video, I want it to be a really darker gradient, so I put the darker part higher, so that way here under the model is way darker. But if I would put it up, actually it would be white here and more grayish on the side, but I actually am gonna take both pictures so you're gonna be able to see. So the things to remember is to put your light source. You need to have two lights, because like for example, if I take this light away, if let me take the camera so you can really see it. Okay, so if I take the light away, as you can see now, if the camera would be here taking the picture, okay, there's no light here, there's only shadow. If you take the normal light and put it, like I was telling you, on top of the camera just like so, you have a better lighting, and you can move this around depending on, you know, you check your light and depending on how it is. I always hold this little light in my hands, that way I can, you know, I can move it around and find the better focus point, because if you're taking picture of this, for example, which is a vehicle, it's a little bit harder because there's so much you know, like edges and stuff like that and things. It's really hard to put the you know, the one of the lights static, and you know, like this, you'd see the back of the doors don't get the same lighting as if I put it here, right? So it's really important for at least vehicles to have one of the lights that being able to move and adjust to make it look nice, right? And if you're taking pictures of normal models, single models, that's a little bit easier to take pictures of it, because you're gonna be able to set your light and not move them, and then after that you're alright. So if I would be normally go about to do this picture, I would put my tripod, and then you're gonna see it, my tripod on the chair or on something, to be able to put my camera probably here in front of the model, and then I would shoot the picture, okay? So basically, as far as setup goes, this would be how I would set up. Before, I didn't have this new gradient paper, so if you saw pictures of me before, I would use normally a normal cloth, okay, a fabric, black fabric, and I would lay it down. But a gradient paper does a better job. I looked at the picture, the gradient really gives a really nice lighting. The way it diffuses lights also, because a cloth doesn't diffuse light in the same way. And also, it looks a little bit more professional with the gradient paper. But if you don't want to invest into that, then just buying a normal cloth or an old black t-shirt or any color you want would do the trick, right? So basically, let's just put it in here, zoom in, and I'll give you what the picture would actually look like. If you had this one in picture, it would look like this. So it does look pretty neat. Let's go talk about camera a little bit, okay? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about cameras, okay? Because, you know, having this setup, and cameras are kind of important. You know, of course, you know, investing in a good camera is kind of expensive. The personal camera I use is this one here. I use Canon EOS Rebel T2i, or in Japan it's called a KISS 4. So that's the camera I use. It's a DSLR camera. Depending on what your budget is, getting a nice, good camera is really nice because it's going to help you take really, really nice pictures. But you can still achieve, if you put the same kind of light setup with the background and the lights and everything, you could still achieve really nice effect and pictures only with using an iPhone, right? I'll try at the end of the picture to take pictures with, to put the pictures at the end of the video. Take the same picture with my my camera, and then after that take the same picture with my iPhone, so that way it gives you an idea of, you know, of the differences in between. So as far as my setup, I use the Canon T2i, and I use an 55mm lens, so which is the standard lens, but I do have one of those little filters here, which is a kind of a screw-in thing that you put in the lens. You screw that at the top, at the bottom, at the end of the lens, and this is a macro lens, right? Or it's like just magnifying, so it gives you a little bit more play with your camera, so you can get a little bit closer to the model. As for the normal lens, it doesn't let you the ability to get that close on the model. This is a close-up. This is ×2, so it magnifies 2 times more of the normal focus length. The difference in between getting, sorry about the noise, the difference in between getting a really nice DSLR camera and a normal digital camera or iPhone camera and all in between, right? The major difference is because on a DSLR, which is, you know, semi-professional or, you know, like full body and stuff cameras, is that these cameras are gonna allow you to change your setting. By setting, what I mean is that on my camera I can adjust basically every parameter of the camera. So I can adjust my focal, my aperture opening, which is the F setting on a camera, which means that you can have a really small aperture or you can get it bigger. For model picture, I always try to have it really big, so a really high level of opening. Why? Because the higher, the more open your objective is, the more detail it's gonna pick up. Okay. Then after that, you can adjust your shutter speed, which means that the speed at which the shutter opens and closes, and then you can adjust your iOS, which is the film itself, the sensitivity of the film. So by using you know, a DSLR camera, you're gonna be able to play with all those settings. And so when I set about to do a picture, normally I do know around what setting I like to do, but even though, depending on if I take the picture at night or during the day, or, you know, if it's a cloudy day and stuff like that, the speed and stuff like that will change. So by having my camera, I can always, you know, take many test shots and then you know, find out which one on which setting I like the camera best, and then when I find my setting, then I'm able to do the whole pictures of the model, right? So really important feature that you can get on a DSLR camera. If you have a normal digital camera, you won't be able to have that, right? So you won't be able to have all those kind of settings. It's pretty much manual, or, you know, sports shot and stuff like that. Those are the adjustments that you have. So you're not going to be able to play with that. So you're going to have to test about which of the setting on the pre-setting on the camera works the best with the lighting that you have, and you're going to have to play a little bit more with the lighting. For example, me, in the setup I have, even if my setup is a little bit darker, what I can, you know, when I take a picture on normal setting, for example, and the picture looks dark, I can just put my shutter speed slower so it opens longer and closes, and then I have more light that comes in my camera, which you won't be able to do with a normal digital camera. So if you have a digital camera, you might need another light or something like that to be able to play with it and really get, you know, the way the picture looks to your liking, depending on how you adjust the lights and everything. Is it worth it to invest in a good camera to take pictures? No, because you know the camera I'm running, if you buy it, it's gonna cost you probably like I don't know, 600 pounds or something like that. It's a really expensive camera. So DSLR are not cameras that are, you know, that are really cheap. So if you're just a normal modeler and you want to take pictures of your models, having that kind of camera won't help you that much. But still, if you set up your lights correctly, if you have a nice background like, you know, I showed you previously, then you're going to be able to still do really nice picture. And at the end of the video, you're going to be able to see the difference between my big camera and pictures that I take with my iPhone. So you're still gonna be able to play with it and you know, do pretty great stuff even if you have a shitty ass camera. So camera is important, but it's not, you can still get around it and still do pretty good miniature. The most important part of it when you're taking pictures with the miniature is to have a nice setup, a nice background, and a nice setup of light. Then it's gonna enable you to do really cool pictures and pictures that look great. One little thing, okay? When you take pictures, for example, me sometimes on my models, especially single miniature, I don't mind getting really close to my models, because you have to bear in mind that if you take pictures of your model, a lot of time, even if you have the model in your own hands, you will never be able to see that close from to the model compared to if you take a picture, right? So on most of my model, I remember the Tech Marine that I did, me and my friends, just for fun, we were zooming in that on the iPad, that the head of the Tech Marine is big like this. It covers the whole iPad. Let me see if I can find for you really fast. So normally, here's the picture. Normally you would never try to do that with a model. If you do this, you know, you're gonna see everything. But if you do a great job, here there's me and my friends, we were actually looking there trying to find faults or brush lines and stuff like that. You can see none, and the faces, the lighting is super nice on it. But anyway, so one thing is that if your paint job is not flawless, okay, don't try to get too close from your model. If you get too close from your model, then all those imperfections and brush strokes and stuff like that will show up. So you need to find and test it out to find a good distance between your camera and the model, that it's going to showcase your model beautifully, but it's not going to show everything that you know, every little mistake that you made. Because when you look at the normal model in your hand, you might not see them, but when you put a camera in front of it and with the zoom that it's going to do and the close-up that it's going to give it to you, it's going to, you know, show up some defaults and little mistakes that you made. So you need to bear that in mind, that it might, you know, show some imperfection. So the better paint job you do, you know, and I always say a model that looks really nice in picture, that's not Photoshop, right, and that you can look at it pretty close up, in real life it's going to be even better, because you cannot see as close as that. So taking pictures of model can be tricky with, you know, all those little imperfections and stuff like that. So try to remember to keep a good distance, that it's going to showcase your model beautifully, but not showcase all the mistakes and little imperfection that you did in the paint job, because everybody is not perfect, right? And so find that good distance, set up your setup correctly, and then after that you're gonna have beautifully looking pictures of your miniature. So it's really cool to be able to showcase your work and put it on Twitter or anywhere on YouTube and stuff like that, to be able to showcase really nice painted miniature. So I hope this tutorial helped you a little bit on how to set up and how I do my how I take my pictures. And I'll see you on the next video. And at the end, like I said, I'll put some pictures of test shots that I've made. So this was Hugo from Ichiban Painting, and I hope you really enjoy it. I'll see you on the next video.